Good morning or afternoon, and welcome to Cloud Acceleration Done Just Right, the story of how hot data, cold data, and intelligent caching can benefit your applications and accelerate your virtual environment. This is a story of Goldilocks and the three SSDs, flash-based application acceleration alternatives. My name is Scott Cleland, and I work in our channel marketing group for LSI Corporation. An IT manager's job is very complex. There's lots of real-time business data activity that's very important. And they retrieve data and have to manage and gain knowledge from data from many different sources. When you apply the cloud, it adds another level of complexity. But regardless of whether you're in traditional IT environments or cloud environments, the opportunity to get the most and the most value out of your storage acceleration is very clear. The chart you see on this slide is in the growth of data over 20 years, and it's nearly linear or exponential in growth. And I'll talk about ways to solve the problem of gaining knowledge and access to data as quickly as possible. Let's talk about the volume, velocity, and variety of data. In 2011, 1,200 exabytes were created. Just mere 6 years prior to that, only 150 exabytes. So you can see that the volume of data from all these different sources is continuing to grow, and that adds a real challenge to an IT manager or a CIO's life or a DBA's life. And how do you take advantage of all that data? How do you gain competitive advantages from that data? The velocity of the data is continuing to grow as well. We're all experiencing the growth of our access to data, the way we retrieve the data, and of course, worldwide networks continue to grow in strength, and you get faster and faster access to data all the time. The problem is that the digital content will probably double every 18 months and every 18 months after that. So you've got a problem of the amount of data you're getting and the velocity at which that data is coming at you. And of course, the variety. Since we're using any device possible to gain access to both structured data and unstructured data, it kind of really creates this whirlpool of data sources. And when an IT manager looks at this whirlpool of data sources, it's a very big challenge. So how do you find areas that you can quickly apply technologies to speed up or to accelerate the access and retrieval of that data? Well, there are some very specific types of data, like invoices, like purchase orders, and like statements that are structured, and these are very low-hanging fruit data sources that can take advantage of different types of flash technologies to accelerate the data path between the media and the application itself, and I'm going to get into that in just a bit. So we've talked about the complexity of the data, the amount of data, and the velocity of data that you're seeing. Now when you apply the concept of virtualization or software-based networking, you've created another challenge. You've solved the problem to get the most value or the biggest dollar out of your servers. We've got multi-core processors, we have larger and larger memory complexes, and we could take advantage of all those resources by applying virtualization to them. So where the server was the bottleneck, you've now created another bottleneck, and that's disk I/O. Disk I/O just has not kept up, or traditional spinning media just has not kept up due to physics, how fast you can move ahead over any kind of data with the requirement to access and availability of that data. So these applications are very well provisioned across lots of different servers and processors, but by the mere fact that you're applying virtualization to the server gives you less pipes in order to go retrieve the data. So where you had a single server, single application running, you had all those server resources to get the data, you now have multiple virtual machines running on servers, but still with only those single pipes back into the server itself. So you need to figure out a way or apply flash technology into these servers to fatten the pipe and feed the beast, which is the applications themselves. At LSI, we call this this volume and velocity and variety of data the data deluge gap. And there's a couple of very identifiable gaps. There's the network traffic compound annual growth rate at about 32%. So that's more people being on the internet, more business-to-business transactions being served and processed. And the storage capacity needs year over year continue to grow at about 50% year over year. The other big gap that's very identifiable is the budgets for which to solve the problem. IT spending is roughly growing at about 5% per year. The CapEx or telco equipment spending is growing at a mere 7% per year. So you've got this, large requirement to get more data into our business applications, more requirements to serve and save the data that you're collecting, but a very small budget in which to do it. So you want to kind of bridge all these gaps, and you can do it several different ways, and I'll get into those different use cases. But there's not only the conceptual network traffic storage capacity and the low IT spending, there's also technology gaps. And those technology gaps come from many different sources, and I'll get into that in a moment. First, I want to talk about this concept of hot data, cold data, and just right data. Cold data is data that really it can be served from traditional spinning media, either DAS environments, direct attached storage, or SAN environments, storage area networks. And cold data is data that can always reside on these storage repositories. Hot data is data that needs to be accessed more frequently than the cold data. And that's the concept of just right data. How do you move data from your storage repositories into a piece of media that will allow you to get the lowest latency, the fastest response times, and still be an economical solution to apply to your application environment? So just right data is balanced. It's hot data being read from flash repositories and colder data being allowed to be served from traditional spinning media in enterprises. All right, I talked a little bit about this Moore's Law gap as well. This is a technology gap. This gap is between the main memory and how we traditionally solve the problem with lots of tier 1 hard disk drive storage, either in SAN or DAS environments. You typically can apply lots and lots of disk drives to get the benefits of performance, but that's not economical. It's not very green. Some of the design inefficiencies in servers, traditional environments, is low server utilization. You solve the problem by applying more servers to it or more database licenses in order to scale with your business. By doing that, you still have the poor application performance. You're still virtualizing these servers. You still have less pipes into the servers. So the application suffers, and therefore the customer suffers, and you want to avoid that. And by using high performance and high power HDDs, you're just adding to the power, space, and cooling problem. You need larger data centers, you need more power into the data centers, and you need more fans and other methods of cooling to keep these high-powered and high-temperature devices cool. Some of the benefits of flash in that same enterprise would be 2 to 4 times improved work per server or per software licenses. So you don't need to apply a database license in order to scale. You could apply flash and get the same benefit that additional management of a database license and installation of that software license. You get a 5 to 10x reduced transaction latency. That means you're getting faster response times, you're getting less wait times from your users, your applications are being served the data faster, you're able to achieve your business objectives faster and grow your business. And of course, SSDs and flash technology in general is much lower power than traditional spinning media. So this data center with flash applied is going to be a much greener solution than without flash applied. All right, so before you go buy a flash and apply it to your problem, you need to ask yourself a few questions. Is my application an application that will benefit from acceleration, and typically database applications are. So identify the appropriate application that you want to accelerate before applying flash. How much capacity do I need? And there's several different ways to skin this cat. You could buy pure flash capacity in order to replace your traditional spinning media in a DAS environment, certainly, or you could apply some intelligence to that capacity and only put that hot data that I talked about earlier onto that flash media and still retain the investment in your current storage acquisition and take advantage of that for the cooler data. You want to ensure that the flash you're buying is enterprise grade. And I'm going to get into that in a second, but in a nutshell, that means make sure that the controller that's managing the flash is enterprise worthy, has enterprise features, can manage the error correction and the performance across the life of the product effectively. And again, you want to apply technology intelligence to the solution wherever it's applicable, and I'll get into that in a second as well. All right, so we talked about this social media driving a lot of different types of data elements, structured and unstructured, and how the performance and the right reliability becomes more and more tangible the farther up the chain you get. On the reverse side of that, the trade-off when NAND flash or SSDs or flash technologies evolve is you're going to get smaller geometries, so 32 nanometer to 24 nanometer. You're going to get larger capacities, 64 gig to 128 to terabytes upon terabytes of flash capacity in a single package. The trade-off is in reliability. The more bits you put in a NAND flash cell, the less reliable it's going to be because there's only a certain amount of reliability to each, to the chemistry of the NAND flash cells. So these kind of are two opposite tracks. So how do you bridge this gap? How do you bridge the gap of moving your flash integration from consumer devices to data center devices, continuing to get the capacity that you need, but maintain that enterprise reliability? Well, that's where controller technology really is the central piece of the architecture of the solution. LSI has the industry-leading enterprise controller technology with our SandForce acquisition. And all of the products that are delivered from LSI apply this enterprise controller technology into the products. So you're able to get a lower cost per gigabyte, highest reliability, enterprise reliability, end-to-end data protection, seamless compression technologies that allow the right endurance to maintain throughout the life of the product. So look at the controller technology when you're acquiring flash. The way we kind of break down our products at LSI is with HBAs and RAID and pure application acceleration solutions, and it's segmented here in this slide. You could apply flash to all these products. You could apply lots of SSDs to an HBA and get very high levels of IOPS. You could also apply SSDs into RAID controllers like 3 or Mega RAID and get the advantage of data protection on SSDs and the same types of performance attributes that are inherent with an SSD, 100 to 1,000 times faster than traditional spinning media. Of course, when you apply pure SSDs to the problem, you're also taking on the cost of that. It does cost quite a bit more per gigabyte SSD versus HDD. So you want to make sure that you've got some intelligence. And the Nitro product line from LSI in the application acceleration segment combines the best of both worlds. You're able to get data protection and application acceleration in a single package, and you apply some intelligence to manage the data and use this concept of hot and cold data effectively, and you're able to get the best bang on both sides of that buck, the lowest cost per gigabyte and the lowest cost per I/O. And I'll get into that in a little bit more. This next slide I'm going to show you is somewhat of an eye chart, but what it is, it allows LSI to understand the positioning and the markets and the workloads that are appropriate for these classes of products. Now, I'm not going to bore you by going through each one of these rows and columns. What I want to point out is that there's very specific applications that could take advantage of flash, and I want to really focus on those specific types of applications and those specific products that could really deliver an economical, high-performance, flash-based storage solution into the cloud or into traditional IT. So if I were to break down those application acceleration solutions, we have four: a Nitro MegaRAID, a Nitro Warp Drive as primary storage, a Nitro Warp Drive as a manual placement caching solution. I'll talk about that in a second. And Nitro XD software. This is the intelligence that I've been talking about. Both Nitro XD software and Nitro MegaRAID apply the same types of algorithms for effectively managing and monitoring I/O traffic and placing hot data in flash and cooler data to DAS or SAN-based storage. So if we were to kind of break that down one more level, in the DAS environment, you could apply a Nitro MegaRAID controller, get the advantages of the industry-leading de facto ad hoc standard RAID stack with MegaRAID, and you get the advantages of integrated onboard flashing technologies with intelligence built into the product itself. So in a DAS environment, you could apply Nitro MegaRAID, data protect your spinning media, and get integrated flash technology right on the controller itself to take advantage of that acceleration. You could also use a Nitro Warp Drive in a DAS environment as pure primary storage. You could just replace your hard disk drives, boot from the Nitro Warp Drive, or you could put boot images on a Nitro Warp Drive and serve them up in a VDI environment, and do many, many other things in a DAS environment. As you move up the food chain into more of the enterprise SAN environment, you could use a Nitro Warp Drive and take advantage of application or file system level caching and apply that to the Nitro Warp Drive. Or you could use Nitro XD software and apply server-side caching through LSI technologies. This really takes the sting out of IT budgets. When you're working at a flat to a very small growth in your IT community, you want to apply intelligence as much as possible so that you don't need to hire a bunch of Oracle DBAs or SAP or SQL or MySQL DBAs to take advantage of the flash. Or you'll let LSI driver and technology do that for you. So there's many different ways to apply flash into both DAS and SAN environments. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about these use cases. On the far left is that use case as a DAS, primary storage acceleration, either using it in a DAS environment or using it to manually place your hot data or your boot images into the Nitro Warp Drive itself. The centerpiece to this slide is the Nitro XD software. This is where hot data is presented and served through the Nitro Warp Drive with XD, and the cooler data goes to your SAN-based storage. It could be SAS or Fiber Channel or iSCSI. We're completely agnostic, and it's transparent acceleration and data placement. Or you could use a Nitro MegaRAID in a DAS environment, and as I said, you get that advantage of RAID protecting your HDD storage in a single DAS environment and getting that same Nitro caching acceleration through the Nitro MegaRAID NAND flash caching layer that you see below this heatsink here. So there's three tenets with our Nitro product family. It must be fast, it must be smart, it must be easy. So fast is easy. Bandwidth in a Nitro Warp Drive is a sustainable 2 gigabytes per second. Average latency is less than 50 microseconds. You typically will get to around 200 to 250,000 IOPS sustainable over the life of the product. There's no write clips when you apply the appropriate type of NAND flash management technology through our SandForce controllers. So you want consistent performance through time, the ability to boot from the device, and battery-less power fail protection. So in case of a disaster recovery is very easy. It's persistent backed up data on the Nitro Warp Drive itself. You need smart intelligence. That's through our XD software, host-based offload architecture, DuraClass technology through SandForce for enhanced reliability and endurance. That's very important. Field tested across many server platforms. We have a very robust, very deep compatibility list on lsi.com/channel. So look for it there. It's got to be easy. So you don't want to spend a lot of dollars fine-tuning applications or bolting up APIs into your system to take advantage of Flash. You want to drop it in and let it run and get the performance benefits as quickly as possible. And that's achievable with a Nitro Warp Drive class product. The types of acceleration you can get, even with no compressibility in your data, we run about 50% faster than our nearest competition. If you just apply a little bit of compression, and 80 to 90% of databases on the market today are compressible. So almost every database is 80 to 90% compressible. But if you just apply 10% compression, that 50% margin goes to about almost 200% faster than our nearest competitor. And at 50% compression, we outperform our competitor dramatically. And that has everything to do with the type of NAND flash management controller on your flash device itself. So in a Warp Drive XD environment, you could achieve high levels of performance and even higher with any type of compressibility to the data itself. So XD is a host-based caching solution. It's seamless integration with existing storage. We're agnostic to the back-end storage and the front-end host. We don't care what type of file system or what application is requesting I/O. We just move data that's accessed frequently to flash, that's hot, and allow data that's accessed less frequently to traditional spinning media, either DAS or SAN. There's a zero admin overhead to this, high levels of TCO and ROI. It reduces CapEx and OpEx dramatically. This is a very, very robust solution for database acceleration. There's kind of two metrics you look at in performance with flash. One is latency. So you want the lowest latency possible. That means you're getting your data as quickly as possible, which improves your response times, which improves customer experience and satisfaction. The flip side of that is less user wait time, more transactions per second, solving either your data mining, your data warehousing, your online transaction processing requirements as fast as possible, so you can gain as much business intelligence about your data in as small a window as possible. By applying XD into that environment, you're able to achieve those dynamics. So what is the cloud? The cloud is big-time real data, and it doesn't matter if it's the cloud or traditional IT. This concept of big data is everywhere out there. It's analytics. It's taking that data from one media source, getting it to another media source, ingesting it, applying knowledge to it, and gaining business intelligence from it. It's planning. It's understanding where your inventories are, how your invoice is going, who's buying what in your sales cycle, so that you're able to gain that business intelligence. Social media is driving a lot of unstructured data and structured data. The concept of bring your own device everywhere all the time and have access to all your data all the time is a real challenge for IT, and they're solving it. Flash allows you to solve it faster. And of course, mobility. You want to be able to get your data everywhere, all the time, every time. The cloud allows you to do that, and by applying Flash within that cloud construct, you're able to get the benefits of low latency, low response, high transaction performance to serve your customers as quickly as possible. So what is the cloud? The cloud is really everything. So harness the power of the cloud. Harness the power of Flash through LSI technology. Please visit us at www.lsi.com/channel or at www.thesmarterwaytofaster.com. We've got data and white papers, case studies, and solution briefs that will allow you to get a deeper dive into all these concepts I've been talking about in all these types of applications and database environments. Thank you very much for your time.